This video is basically to further your understanding on the Christian stance of suicide. To do this, I'm going to interview the pastor of my church, Reverend Dr. Verlin D. Williams. And yeah. Alright, for clarification, what is the general Christian stance on suicide? And does it differ between different sects of the religion?
The general stance on suicide among Christians, you already know, we talked about the fact that you can't find the word suicide in the Bible.
Right.
The law of Moses clearly teaches that thou shalt not kill. Christianity is a branch, a branch, the child of Judaism. Jesus taught that we are to love the Lord our God with all our heart, our strength, our mind, and that we're to love our neighbor as ourselves. The implication is that we love ourselves enough that we don't do our bodies any harm. So, while the word suicide may not be found in the New Testament or the Old Testament, we believe that it is wrong, that it is against God's law to kill, and that includes ourselves. Okay?
All right.
So, now, sects of Christianity, no denomination that I can think of in Christianity supports the idea of suicide. It's against God's law. To murder is to murder, and that's against God's law. Okay?
All right. Second question. Is it true that in the past, people who committed suicide were not allowed to be buried in Christian graveyards?
Yes. Yes, because there were fundamental religions, fundamental Christian sects that believe when you murder, if you commit suicide, that you have not had a chance to repent, to ask God's forgiveness, and therefore you are condemned to hell. So they would not allow a person who committed suicide to have a Christian burial.
Alright. Third question. What is worse? Murder or suicide?
It's the same. Murder is, to murder is to take a life. Suicide is to take your own life. So there's no difference between murder and suicide. It's the same.
Alright. Is there biblical support for the Christian view? A Christian view of suicide, or were there opinions on the subject added to Christian ideology after the time in which the Bible was written?
No. It's been consistent throughout. In the Old Testament, part of the Christian Bible is the Old Testament. You know that, Xavier.
Right.
In the Old Testament, there were religions, religious sects that would offer their children as sacrifices to their gods. Some biblical scholars say that the reason Abraham was told to offer Isaac is because he was under the influence of one of those pagan religions. But our faith in God, our understanding of who we are as creations of God, forbids us to do harm to ourselves or to others. To murder is wrong. Suicide is wrong. There is absolutely no justification for suicide. And there is no biblical point of view that says that suicide is right. It is wrong in the past, it's wrong in the present, and it's wrong in the future. Suicide is wrong.
And that kind of answers my last question. So,
and the last question is?
Is there any situation in which suicide is okay in Christianity?
Never. Never. We trust God, Xavier. God is the giver, the author of life. And when God says so, we die.
Right.
For the Christian, when the body dies, the spirit, we believe, goes to be with God.
Right.
So there is, suicide is out. And now, there's a lot of news about suicide bombers and that kind of thing in a certain sect of Islamic religion.
Right.
That's their belief. And many believe that those who subscribe to suicide bombing have a kind of distorted understanding of Islam. So suicide is wrong.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.